Hey there, I'm Ruth. If you're watching this, I guess you're interested in revenge, perhaps you're on the brink of it yourself. But let me take you back to the moment that changed everything for me. Picture this, a small suburban town, the kind of place where secrets are buried behind white picket fences and friendly smiles. The sun was shining on a crisp autumn afternoon, and the leaves were a cascade of red and gold, but all I could see was the darkness creeping into my life. I was a junior in high school, just a regular girl trying to navigate the murky waters of adolescence. I had dreams of going to art school, sitting at my easel, and painting masterpieces that would make my mother proud. My mom is my rock, a single parent who always encouraged me to chase my dreams. She worked 2 jobs to give me everything, and I admired her resilience. But life was about to throw us a curveball that neither of us saw coming. Then there was Mia, my best friend since childhood. We shared everything, secrets, laughter, and even our fears. We were inseparable until one afternoon in late October, when the leaves crunched beneath our feet and the air was fragrant with the promise of Halloween. That day, something shifted. I watched as Mia crossed paths with Jason Collins, a guy from our school with a smile that could charm the world. He was handsome, popular, and had a reputation for being a heartbreaker. I always thought he was out of reach for someone like me. But what I didn't realize was that Mia had her sights set on him, and soon enough, she was swept away into a whirlwind romance I never saw coming. I wanted to be supportive, after all, who wouldn't want to see their best friend happy? But as the weeks passed, I could feel the distance between us growing. Phone calls turned into texts, and texts turned into silence. I was losing my best friend, and it hurt more than I could bear. On a frigid November evening, at a party I was too shy to attend, everything fell apart. When I finally gathered the courage to show up, I walked into a scene that would haunt me forever. There she was, Mia, tangled in Jason's arms, laughing like I had forgotten how to. I felt my heart shatter in that moment, as if the air was sucked from the room. It was a betrayal that cut deeper than I could have imagined. I confronted her that night, and in a moment of anger and disbelief, I saw the real Mia, the girl who cared more about popularity than friendship. She shrugged off my hurt as if it were nothing, her eyes gleaming with a satisfaction that twisted the knife deeper. "You were just holding me back, Ruth," she said, as if those words could justify the devastation she had caused. That's when the spark of revenge ignited in my chest, a burning desire for justice. It wasn't just about the betrayal anymore, it was about reclaiming my power. I started plotting a way to show Mia that I wouldn't be the footnote in her story. So here I am, on a journey that started with heartbreak but has turned into a quest for vengeance. As I share my story, I hope you'll see pieces of your own struggles and maybe even find inspiration in what I learned along the way. After all, revenge isn't always sweet, sometimes it has to be earned. And mine was just getting started. As I stood there in that suffocating living room, surrounded by laughter that felt like daggers, the confusion and disbelief twisted into a gut-wrenching pain. Mia was my sister in spirit, the person I thought I could count on, and she was throwing away our friendship for a fleeting romance with Jason. I had always feared rejection, but this wasn't just rejection, it was betrayal. The laughter echoed in my mind as I replayed the moments of our friendship, sleepovers where we shared dreams, hushed confessions beneath starry skies, and heart-to-heart talks about our futures. I had supported her when she struggled with insecurities, cheered her on through heartbreaks of her own, and now she was leaving me in the dust for someone who barely knew her. The irony stung, as if the universe was laughing along with her, mocking my loyalty. That night, when I confronted her, I didn't just see Mia, I felt the weight of every shared moment collapsing between us, like a building crumbling under the force of a wrecking ball. "You were just holding me back, Ruth," she had said, her voice dripping with indifference. I could scarcely believe what I was hearing. The words clung to me, taunting me in the quiet moments that followed. I found solace in my room, allowing the tears to stream down my cheeks as I clutched the fabric of my stuffed bear, the only relic of my childhood that had survived the storm. How could she not see the value of what we had? How could she throw me aside so easily for a guy who would likely move on to the next shiny object when the thrill wore off? As I scrolled through social media the next day, my heart pounding as I anticipated what I'd see, I found pictures of them together, beaming grins, arms wrapped around each other, Jason's charming smile contrasting so sharply with the betrayal I felt in my own heart. It was like a punch to the gut each time I saw them together, kissing under the autumn leaves, the very leaves we used to jump into as kids. I was an outsider looking in, and the dull ache of loneliness crept in like a thief in the night. But beneath that pain, something dark began to brew. I felt a surge of anger, a fire igniting deep within me. No longer would I allow Mia to dictate my worth or let her bask in the glow of her new life while I melted away in the shadows of my own heartbreak. I had been so focused on the friendship that I had neglected to love myself, and now it was time to change that. My thoughts began to race, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the betrayal was not just an emotional wound, it was a catalyst, pushing me into a new realm of understanding. I started to sketch out my plan late at night, the dim light of my desk lamp illuminating my determination. I would show Mia that this wasn't just a game to me. I would reveal the ugly side of her fairy tale, show her the consequences of her choice to trivialize our bond. What if I exposed her to the very people she was trying to impress? What if I revealed the truth about Jason? After all, he was a notorious player, and if Mia thought she had just bagged a trophy, she had another thing coming. I would dig deep, uncover his past, and unravel the image she held so dearly. Maybe then, she would understand the price of her betrayal, a price that would force her to question her values and feel the weight of her choices. As I plotted my revenge, I felt a strange exhilaration wash over me, fueling the fire burning in my chest. This was no longer just about heartbreak, it was about reclaiming my narrative, reclaiming my life. I wouldn't be the girl left behind while she waltzed off into the sunset. No, I would rise like a phoenix from the ashes of our friendship, and the world would see that I was so much more than just the girl who lost her best friend. With every passing day, the desire for revenge morphed into a resolve that felt palpable. This was my moment. I would make sure Mia understood the true cost of betrayal, and I would reclaim my story. Revenge was on the horizon, and it called to me like a siren song, promising not just justice, but a sense of empowerment I had long forgotten existed. Days turned into weeks, and with each sunrise, the ache in my heart shifted into something darker, something more powerful. My anger transformed into a relentless machine, feeding off every moment of pain, every whispered secret shared between Mia and Jason, and every glance exchanged in the hallways of our high school. With each passing day, the reality of my situation settled deeper within me, and it was clear, I needed to act. At first, I started small. I began by subtly distancing myself from the crowd that once included Mia. I slipped into the background, observing their every move through the lens of my own anger and hurt. I watched as Mia basked in her new popularity, wearing her new relationship like a badge of honor. It gnawed at me, the way she flaunted her happiness, as if our years of friendship were nothing more than a forgotten chapter. One afternoon, while hiding behind the library stacks, I caught sight of Mia and Jason. They were huddled close, their laughter echoing off the walls like an ominous taunt. I could see her face alight with joy, and the rage within me swelled as I realized how far she had gone, all while I suffered in silence. The world around me blurred as I felt the suffocating grip of jealousy tighten its hold. In that moment, I knew I needed more than just petty revenge. I needed to unravel the very fabric of the fairy tale she was living. I wanted to expose the truth beneath the smooth surface of Jason's charm. My heart raced as I remembered the rumors I had heard whispered in the school hallways about him, stories of broken hearts and lies. I had to dig deeper, and I knew just who to ask. I reached out to Jenna, a girl from the cheer team who had once confided in me about Jason's past conquests. Over a lunch that felt charged with unspoken tension, I kept my voice casual as I asked her about him, pretending to be curious rather than vindictive. She obliged, recounting tales of how Jason had played with the hearts of several girls, leaving them shattered in his wake without a second thought. My heart raced with anticipation as I took in every detail, every sordid story. They began to formulate a plan in my mind, a way to strike back at Mia without revealing my hand just yet. I spent hours assembling evidence, screenshots of messages, whispered confessions, and even a few candid photos I'd gathered from social media. Each piece felt like a dagger, a testament to the truth that lay beneath Jason's polished exterior. I could almost feel the weight of it in my hands, and the thrill of revenge electrified my veins. But as my plan started to take shape, the escalation took a darker turn. I began to notice the changes in myself, the way my heart hardened with each passing day. I was consumed, layered in a cold anger that eclipsed my grief. I wasn't just plotting revenge, I was transforming into someone I barely recognized. I would look in the mirror and see the shadows under my eyes and the tightness in my jaw. Where once I had been filled with dreams of artistry, I now saw a girl driven by an insatiable desire for retribution. Then came the moment I had been anxiously waiting for. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, I found myself standing outside the gym, the excitement almost palpable. I had orchestrated my chance, and now it was time to unleash my plan. During basketball practice, I sent a message to Mia anonymously, teasing her with the promise of some interesting news about Jason. I could picture her face as she read the message, confusion and curiosity mingling in her expression. A part of me felt a twinge of guilt, but it was quickly drowned out by the thrill of what I had set in motion. I watched as she paced outside the gym, her phone glued to her ear, desperately trying to decipher who had sent the message. My heart raced with every moment of uncertainty, and the satisfaction of knowing I had her on edge was intoxicating. And then, like a cruel twist of fate, everything spiraled. Mia confronted me the following day, her eyes blazing with rage and hurt. "Did you send that message?" she demanded, her voice shaking with emotion. For a fleeting second, guilt lanced through me. I had been so focused on my revenge that I hadn't considered the ramifications. But the answer was clear, I couldn't back down now. "No," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos swirling within. "But you should really find out who it was." I watched as realization dawned on her, the flicker of fear in her eyes igniting my sense of satisfaction. But that satisfaction quickly turned to dread as I began to see the consequences of it. Was the day after Mia confronted me that everything changed. I was sitting in my room, the soft glow of my desk lamp illuminating the pages of my sketchbook, but I barely noticed. I was lost in thought, the adrenaline of the confrontation still coursing through my veins. I could still see the anger and betrayal etched across her face, and it stirred something within me, a mixture of exhilaration and dread. This was no longer just a plan of revenge, it was becoming an obsession. The phone buzzed next to me, pulling me out of my thoughts. It was a group chat with a few remaining friends from my art club. They were talking about a party at Jason's house that weekend, a gathering that would mark the height of his and Mia's new relationship. As I read through their messages, a wave of disgust washed over me. The world was eager to celebrate their love, but all I could think about was how blind they all were to the truth. It felt like a sick joke, and I was the punchline. Suddenly it clicked, the opportunity was right in front of me. I had been so focused on exposing Jason's past to Mia that I had forgotten the bigger picture. This wasn't just about teaching her a lesson, it was about reclaiming my identity. I could turn the attention of our peers onto her, onto the very relationship she held so dear. If I played my cards right, I could make Jason an outcast, and in the process, ruin Mia's precious fairy tale. The thought sent a shiver down my spine, but there was a strange sense of clarity that accompanied it. This was my moment. I could feel the thrill pulsing through me, the darkness that had settled in my heart igniting into a reckless flame of determination. I wasn't just fighting for revenge, I was fighting for my voice, for my story, for the girl I once was, the girl who had stood by Mia through everything only to watch her shatter our friendship for a fleeting romance. That Friday evening, as I prepared for the party, a storm brewed inside me. I chose my outfit carefully, slipping into a fitted black dress that made me feel powerful and fierce. I wanted to represent the part of me that had been buried by Mia's betrayal, the part that was ready to stand tall and reclaim my life. I adorned myself with silver jewelry, a stark contrast to the darkness that had enveloped my heart. When I arrived at Jason's house, I let the chaos of the party wash over me, loud music, laughter, and the heady scent of cheap cologne filling the air. But instead of feeling overwhelmed, I was invigorated. I scanned the room, looking for Mia, and there she was, radiant under the twinkling lights, her laughter ringing out like a siren's call. Jason had his arm wrapped around her shoulder, and she looked blissful, utterly oblivious to the storm that was about to unfold. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I was not that shy, heartbroken girl anymore. I was the architect of my own destiny, and this night would be my canvas. I made my way towards the snack table, where a few of my classmates were gathered. I had spent the last few days gathering pieces of Jason's past, and now it was time to unleash the storm. I casually brought up the rumors swirling around Jason's reputation, stories of broken hearts, lies, and betrayal. At first, it was just small talk, but as the conversation flowed naturally, I dropped hints of my own experiences with him. You know, I heard he ghosted his last girlfriend the moment he met Mia. Can you believe that? I smirked, watching as the initial surprise morphed into intrigue. The whispers grew louder, and soon enough, I noticed a few more pairs of ears perk up, drawn in by the gravity of the tales I spun. With every word, I could feel the momentum building, a tidal wave of attention shifting away from Mia and onto Jason. The laughter faded as those around me began to absorb the information, their expressions turning from amusement to concern, and it felt like a drug coursing through my veins. When Mia finally caught wind of what was happening, her expression shifted from joy to disbelief. She moved through the crowd, her eyes darting from face to face, trying to figure out what was going wrong. I could see the realization dawning on her, a sense of betrayal creeping into her features as she pieced together the fragments of gossip swirling around her. At that moment, I felt a jolt of satisfaction ripple through me. I was no longer just a background character in her story, I was the author of my own narrative. I could see the seeds of doubt creeping into her heart, and with each passing moment, I reveled in the as the party unfolded around me. I clutched my drink tightly, feeling the cool condensation trickle down the glass. My heart raced, not with fear, but with exhilarating anticipation. I had constructed my revenge plan meticulously, and now the pieces were all falling into place. First, I needed to ensure that Jason's reputation was front and center. I had already laid the groundwork with my classmates, and now it was time for the final act. I glanced over at them. Mia was still oblivious to the chaos brewing around her, her laughter echoing in my ears like a haunting reminder of what I had lost. I would ensure that she caught the tide of gossip building against Jason, and before the night was over, she would be questioning everything. The first step was simple. I would plant the seed of doubt in Mia's mind. I casually strolled over to where she was laughing with some of her friends, the confident facade I had built wrapping around me like armor. As I approached, I made sure to catch her eye, smiling just enough to feign friendliness. "Hey, Mia. Can we talk for a second?" I asked, my voice light but firm. She looked surprised but nodded, her eyes darting to Jason, who was obliviously immersed in conversation with some of his teammates. We stepped a little away from the crowd, and I could see the curiosity etched on her face. "What's up?" she asked, a hint of tension underlying her cheerful tone. "Have you heard the rumors about Jason?" I asked, feigning innocence. "I mean, it seems like everyone is talking about him tonight." Her expression shifted slightly, confusion mingling with the flicker of anxiety. "What do you mean?" she asked, tilting her head. "Oh, nothing too serious," I said, letting the tension build. "Just some things I've heard about how he treated his last girlfriend. You know, things that might make you think twice." I could see her heart start to race, the smile fading as doubt crept into her mind. "What do you mean? What did he do?" she pressed, her voice almost a whisper now. I leaned in closer, lowering my voice conspiratorially. "I heard he ghosted her right after they got together, left her completely crushed. It's weird, right? You think he'd be different with you, but..." I let the sentence hang in the air, watching as her expression shifted from confusion to shock. Mia's eyes widened, and a panic began to pour across her face. "Ruth, are you serious?" she demanded, desperation bleeding into her tone. "Just something to keep in mind, Mia. You deserve someone who values you, you know?" I said, trying to sound like the caring friend I once was. But underneath it all, there was a thrill coursing through me. I was planting seeds of doubt, and they were taking root with every word. Next, I needed to enlist a few key people to help amplify the gossip. I made my way back to the snack table, where Jenna was chatting with a couple of other girls from the cheer team. I had gotten close to Jenna over the past week, and I knew she had a big mouth. "Hey, did you hear what Mia just found out about Jason?" I asked casually, leaning against the table. "What?" Jenna asked, intrigued. I smiled, letting the rumor slip from my lips like a delicious secret. I just told her about how he treated his last girlfriend, and I'm pretty sure it's not the first time he's done it. It's going around, you know? Jenna's eyes sparkled, and the other girls leaned in, eager to hear more. I could see the wheels turning in their heads, the hunger for drama igniting in their eyes. "I heard he's been playing girls left and right," one of them chimed in, and soon the conversation spiraled, with each girl adding her own tidbit, twisting the narrative to further tarnish Jason's image. As the whispers spread through the party, I watched the energy shift. The laughter and merriment faded, replaced by a growing tension. I could feel the anticipation building inside me, a deliciously vindictive thrill. Mia was in the center of it all, oblivious to the storm swirling around her. Then came the moment I had been waiting for, the chance to put everything into motion. I spotted Jason across the room, laughing with a group of jocks, completely unaware of what was happening around him. I approached him, wearing a practiced smile as I leaned in. "Hey, Jason. Can I grab you for a sec?" I asked, my tone friendly but purposeful. He raised an eyebrow but followed me away from the group. "What's up?" I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me as I led Jason away from the crowd, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. This was it, the moment I had carefully orchestrated, the tipping point where everything I had planned would collide. He looked at me with that charming, disarming smile, completely unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. "What's going on, Ruth?" he asked, his tone light, but I could sense an undercurrent of curiosity. I had rehearsed what I would say, but as I stood there, the gravity of the situation settled over me like a thick fog. I took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of confidence I could muster. "I think you need to know what's being said about you tonight," I started, keeping my voice steady. "There are rumors spreading about how you treated your last girlfriend, and honestly, it's not looking good." His smile faltered, replaced by a flash of irritation. "What the hell are you talking about?" he retorted, his posture stiffening. "That's ridiculous." "Oh, it's definitely not ridiculous," I continued, my voice low and deliberate. "People are saying you ghosted her and moved on to Mia without a second thought. It's making waves, Jason. Do you really want that kind of reputation?" I could see the realization wash over him, his expression shifting from dismissal to concern. The room around us faded into a blur, the laughter and music muted as I watched the gears turn in his mind. He opened his mouth, likely to protest, but the words caught in his throat as he caught sight of Mia, who was standing just a few feet away, her face pale as she overheard our conversation. Mia's eyes widened in shock, and I could feel the tension hanging between us, thick like a taut wire ready to snap. I could see the panic settling in her, a realization dawning that whatever fairy tale she had imagined with Jason was now crumbling like fragile glass. The crowd was slowly gathering, drawn by the tension in the air. Whispers began to ripple through the party, curiosity mingling with concern, a palpable energy that electrified the atmosphere. I could feel the eyes of onlookers boring into me, their attention shifting like a tide towards the unfolding drama. I had designed this moment to make waves, and the currents were crashing against the shore. "Ruth, this isn't funny," Jason said, a hint of desperation creeping into his voice. "You're trying to stir something up that isn't there. What's wrong with you?" The defiance in his tone ignited a fire within me. "I'm just trying to make sure Mia knows the truth." I shot back, my emotions spilling over. "You think you can play with people's hearts and not face the consequences? You're wrong. You need to own up to your actions." Mia stepped forward, her voice trembling as she cut in, "What did you say?" I could see the hurt and confusion written across her face, a painful contradiction to the joy she had radiated earlier that evening. "Just telling Jason about how people are talking," I said with a sweet smile, letting the satisfaction sink in. "You were just so happy, but maybe it's time you knew the truth about him." Jason's expression twisted into a mask of anger and annoyance. This is ridiculous, he spat, but the way his gaze flickered back to Mia told me my words were sinking in. I didn't ghost anyone. That's not how it happened. Then what is the truth? I challenged, my adrenaline surging. The crowd had grown, everyone leaning in, and I felt a surge of power with all eyes on us. You can't just dismiss the hurt you've caused. You think it's a game? Mia's face was a whirlwind of emotions, betrayal, anger, confusion, and the flicker of realization that perhaps this relationship wasn't as perfect as she wanted it to be. The moment was becoming unbearable, and I could see the internal battle raging within her. You really think I'm like that? Jason sneered, but the bravado was fading. I care about you, Mia. I thought you knew that. Then why are people saying these things? She shot back, her voice trembling with disbelief. Why is everyone talking about it? A murmur rippled through the crowd, fueled by the growing tension. Jason opened his mouth, likely to defend himself again, but I wasn't about to let him twist the narrative back in his favor. I leaned in closer, my voice steady, because it's the truth, Jason. You can't hide behind your charm and good looks forever. Mia's eyes were darting between the aftermath unfolded like a slow-motion movie, every moment stretching out as the tension coagulated in the air. The party that had been filled with laughter and light turned into something starkly different, a crucible of confrontation. As the crowd closed in, their faces alight with curiosity and a hint of concern, I felt an electric charge in the atmosphere, a tangible sense of reckoning. Jason's bravado crumbled. He glanced at Mia, his confident facade cracking under the pressure of her gaze, which was filled with betrayal and anger. Mia, just listen. It's not, he began, but the words fell flat. The truth I had exposed had ignited a wildfire that he could no longer control. Mia, however, seemed to be caught in a storm of disbelief. She turned toward me, her expression shifting into one of grave realization. Ruth, is this true? Did he really ghost someone? She asked, her voice trembling, the vulnerability seeping through her bravado. The room echoed with whispers, people leaning in and exchanging knowing glances. I could see the pieces falling into place, the spell of infatuation dissipating like mist under the sun. Mia, I said gently, you deserve to know what's happening behind closed doors. You deserve to be with someone who values you. With every passing second, the laughter ebbed into an uncomfortable silence, all eyes glued to the unraveling drama before them. I felt the adrenaline still pulsing through my veins, a potent mix of revenge and vindication. But then, something shifted, a pang of guilt snaked through the thrill of victory, squeezing my heart tight. Mia's expression twisted as realization flooded her face. I can't believe you, she stammered, the earlier warmth in her demeanor evaporating into the cold night air. You're supposed to be my friend, Ruth. You're supposed to support me, not tear me down. Her words struck like a slap. I had become the very thing I despised, a source of pain, just like she had been to me. But the anger in me fought back. You think this is about you? You disregarded our friendship for the sake of a fleeting romance. You humiliated me, I shouted, the rawness of my hurt spilling out in every syllable. I never meant to hurt you, she cried, her voice catching in her throat. I just wanted to be happy. And at what cost? I countered, the bitterness clawing at my throat. The crowd was hanging on every word, the tension palpable. I realized then that I had not only sought revenge against Jason but against Mia too, and it was beginning to feel hollow. As the confrontation escalated, Jason attempted to salvage his image, throwing his arm around Mia in a desperate show of affection, but it only backfired. Come on, babe, don't listen to her. He pleaded. You know how people exaggerate. But the trust that had once characterized Mia's eyes was replaced by a haunting uncertainty. I need to think, she finally whispered, stepping away from him, the weight of the moment crashing down on both of us like a tidal wave. The crowd began to murmur again, the gravity of the revelation settling in. In that moment, I had won my battle, but at what cost? I watched as Mia walked away, her head held high but her shoulders trembling. The realization that I had pushed her away, that I had become the villain in this twisted tale of betrayal, hit me hard. The exhilaration of revenge faded into a bitter taste of regret. As the party began to dwindle, the laughter and music replaced by hushed conversations and uncertain glances, I felt a hollowness within me, one that no amount of vindication could fill. I was left standing there, surrounded by the remnants of what had been, and the fragmentation of my friendship with Mia was carved into my heart, a scar I would carry forever. Days turned into weeks, and the fallout from that party echoed throughout our school. Mia had distanced herself not just from Jason but from the circles we once shared. I saw her in the hallways, a specter of the girl she used to be, lost, confused, and alone. The whispers had turned into a cacophony of speculation, painting her in shades of blame and sorrow. I tried reaching out, sending texts to check on her, but each message went unanswered. The silence cut deeper than any betrayal. I had fought so hard to reclaim my voice, to exact my revenge, but in doing so, I had lost my friend. I spent nights tossing and turning, haunted by the specter of what could have been. I painted frantically, filling my canvases with swirling colors that mirrored the